All right, let's talk about stress, but maybe not in the way you're used to. We're going to dive into the really powerful connection between the food you eat and that famous stress hormone, cortisol. You know that feeling of being constantly on edge, just overwhelmed? Well, the solution might be right there on your plate. I mean, we always hear about managing stress with things like meditation or exercise, right? But what if one of the biggest levers you can pull is actually your diet? Okay, so first things first, let's talk about cortisol. It gets a really bad rap as the stress hormone, but honestly, it's not the villain here. Your body actually needs it for stuff like regulating your metabolism and keeping your immune system in check. The real trouble starts when those cortisol levels get stuck on high for way too long. That's when your whole system gets thrown completely out of whack. So let's dig into that a little bit. What actually happens when cortisol goes haywire? And more importantly, why should you care about it for your day-to-day health? And look, the stakes here are really high. This isn't just about feeling a little frazzled or stressed out. We're talking about chronic high cortisol being directly linked to some pretty serious stuff, like stubborn weight gain, constant anxiety, and even a higher risk for major health problems like diabetes and heart disease. But, and this is the really good news, you are not powerless here. Not at all. Your diet is so much more than just calories. Think of it as one of the most powerful tools you have to really get a handle on your cortisol and bring it back to a healthy place. Okay, so where do we even begin? Let's start with one of the biggest offenders when it comes to messing with our hormones, the sugar and refined carb trap. Man, it creates this vicious cycle that can be so tough to get out of. So here's how it works. It's like a chain reaction in your body. You eat some sugar or refined carbs, and boom, your blood sugar spikes. Then your body sends out insulin to deal with that spike. But then, to counteract that insulin rush, your system pumps out cortisol to try and rebalance everything. See the problem? It's a nonstop loop that keeps your body in a constant state of stress. And yeah, you can probably guess the usual suspects here. We're talking about the obvious stuff: cookies, cakes, candy, sodas. But it's also those refined carbs like white bread and pasta, which your body basically treats just like sugar. And get this, even artificial sweeteners made the list. They can trigger a similar cortisol jump, even without the calories. Kind of crazy, right? So what do you do instead? Well, you don't have to give up sweetness entirely. The simple swap is to go for whole fruits. The fiber in them slows everything down so you don't get that crazy blood sugar roller coaster. Plus, you get a huge bonus of antioxidants. It's a win-win. All right, moving on. Next up is a trio of things that many of us have every day that can also send cortisol through the roof: stimulants, certain kinds of fats, and way too much salt. Let's break down two super common habits. That morning cup of coffee, it's literally kicking your body into fight or flight mode and telling it to release cortisol. And what about that glass of wine at night to unwind? Well, it might feel relaxing in the moment, but it messes with your sleep and actually harms the glands that regulate cortisol, so you end up more stressed the next day. And when it comes to fats, it's super important to know that they are not all created equal. You've got the inflammatory kind, like trans fats and a lot of high-fat dairy, that basically tell your body to release more cortisol. But then you've got the good guys, healthy fats from stuff like avocados, olive oil, and salmon. They do the exact opposite. They help fight inflammation and keep your hormones happy. Oh, and we can't forget salt. Just a quick but important point here. A diet that's super high in sodium, which you find in a ton of fast food and canned soups, it really stresses out your system by messing with your blood pressure. And your body's response to that stress? You guessed it, more cortisol. Okay, this brings us to our last big category of foods to watch out for. And trust me, it's a huge one. We're talking about the processed food problem. So what is it about these foods? Well, things like processed meats have preservatives that cause something called oxidative stress. And your packaged snacks and fried foods, they're just loaded with unhealthy fats and weird additives. But here's the key takeaway. The one thing they all have in common is that they cause inflammation. And inflammation is like a giant flashing sign telling your body to pump out more cortisol. All right, so we've spent a lot of time on what not to eat. But now let's get to the good stuff, the empowering stuff. What can you actually do? Let's talk about how you can use your plate to take back control from stress. So this right here, this is what a powerful anti-stress plate looks like. It's all about getting the right balance. You want to build a foundation of tons of fruits and vegetables, add in some lean protein and whole grains to keep your blood sugar nice and steady, and then top it all off with a good dose of those amazing anti-inflammatory, healthy fats.
So think of this as your new shopping list, your game plan. When you're at the store, just focus on these things. Fill your cart with colorful fruits and veggies, fish like salmon that's packed with omega-3s, nuts and seeds, whole grains, and hey, maybe think about swapping one of those coffees for a calming herbal tea like chamomile or green tea. It can make a huge difference.
And please, remember, this is not about being perfect overnight. It's not about some crazy restrictive diet. The real goal here is just making small, smart changes. Every good choice you make builds on the one before it. And that's how you really start to manage stress and boost your health, one meal at a time. So I want to leave you with a question, just one thing to think about. After everything we've just talked about, what is one simple swap you can make today, right now? Could you trade that afternoon soda for a tea? Or swap the chips for a handful of nuts? It doesn't have to be huge. That one little choice, that's where you start taking back your power.